Koji again from Celestial Rhythms. Candlemas in bulk today, February the 2nd. So this is kind of video 2, a sequence of what a sequel of what I just did. I'm continuing because it's such an intense and powerful time. So much happening up there in the skies and everywhere else, as above, so below. So today, the day started with a Jupiter-Uranus square. Okay, this is wrong. This is wrong here. It's a square. I said that wrongly here. So this is a square, exactly 90 degrees apart. Jupiter is faster than Uranus. Jupiter takes about 12 years to one circle around the zodiac. Uranus takes about 84 years. So every whatever 13-14 years they meet. So Jupiter is now approaching Uranus here. So this is a waning square. This is when the energy of that 14-year cycle comes into its final phase of expressing. It's the crisis in mind, in the perception of reality. And now Jupiter and Uranus together, this is really new creation of an idea, giving it form. Jupiter and Uranus always show up when something really exciting is happening, like the first moon landing, there was a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, things like that, something outrageous, unbelievable, greater than one could think. In Aquarius, which is Uranus sign, so Uranus has an extra power here in this, and Taurus is the energy of giving body to an energy, making it visible, tangible, rooting it in Earth. So that's also why these 7 years Uranus is in Taurus between 2011 and 18. I predicted that long ago. This would be the time when free energy would become accessible, when all the exotic energy technologies would be revealed. By the way, Tesla has Uranus in Taurus. This tells you maybe something. So we had this exciting activation of Uranus and Jupiter at the start of this day. Again, this is a Greenwich chart here we're starting with, a global chart. And interestingly enough, we have one more leg to this configuration. Not too many hours prior to this, on the first probably, as this is the fastest of the three, there was a exact Hygeia Uranus square and a Hygeia Jupiter opposition. Now Hygeia is about health, well-being, being in the right place at the right time. I like that one a lot. It's just the consciousness of goodness. And naturally this energy was quite hijacked over the last year in some ways. I guess many people were able to transcend that and to see the silver lining in it, and you were very lucky if you belong to that group. Other people were seriously suffering and having a terrible time. We are feeling very sorry for all these people, and hopefully they soon will be in a better place. But this again is an activation also of the whole concept of health and of well-being, kind of a revolution in that whole V scam, I would call it. I don't want to say the word, not to get them blacklisted. Anyway, you get the picture. So this is an exciting twist of energies as seen from the purely energetic realm, the heliocentric, which is reflecting the sun's sun rays, the photons, the neutrinos, all these very, very small particles which constantly are coming in and feeding us, because that's what we need, the warmth and the radiation and all that, to keep us alive. As we know, if the sun would be turned off, within 8 minutes it would be dark, and within hours we would all be gone. It would get so cold very, very fast. So the sun is really our lifeline, and the quantum energetic coding of each of these photons, that's what really that energetic picture reflects. Interesting that this Greenwich chart, you see, has again the Taurus and Scorpio axis. This time it's the Scorpio which is here rising. And this already gives you a little preview that the next few days with the moon in Scorpio might be a new beginning, also seen from that level. On top of that, there is Saturn here, very closely T-squaring this axis, and there is Varuna up here. These two, Varuna and Saturn, just had an exact opposition very shortly. I was mentioning it, I guess, in my last video or in my writing, I forget. It is law and order, and Varuna is justice, righteousness. Varuna is named after an East Indian king who was so righteous and just in his lifetime that in his afterlife he was lifted to the position of ruling, judging over the dead. That should show you the significance of this body. And a Kuiper belt object, and these two in opposition, tightly involved in this global axis of the Jupiter-Uranus renewal cycle. This is interesting. This is really showing that this is a big part of the picture, to bring natural justice back, to bring blind justice back, as it also has been named, which is not looking at who you're judging, but regardless, high or low, this color or that color, rich or poor, everybody is treated the same way. That is part of this new earth, new concept. So this, now if we go to the Washington chart for that moment, when Uranus and Jupiter had an exact opposition, and this is now the same moment but seen in geocentric view, where the planets appear in that moment as seen from Earth, whereas this earlier shot here, this is the purely heliocentric geometry. What stands out here is Okiroe. That's very beautiful. Okiroe always shows up when things are accelerating, when they're pushed and kind of boosted. So whatever the process is here, we see a great acceleration, and it is the public field, people coming together. The 7th house cusp is the meeting point where we meet the other polarity, if you want, whereas the ascendant is more our original personality structure, and this is what we naturally attract as a complement. So what is interesting in this chart is that South Node Astrea conjunction. Astrea is the energy of cleaning up, of rolling one's sleeve back and doing the work, taking on difficult projects, and in the service of humanity, in service of resolving problems from the past. Again, very beautiful. And it is also interesting to mention that Juno here, which, as I mentioned in my other video, has this powerful opposition here with a BNR and Gemini, which happens to be the American nation's ascendant and descendant. Just zooming back here quickly for those who haven't seen the other video yet. You see 13 and 13, the American nation's ascendant, descendant, and we see that same axis here again. So what further is interesting, Venus is now always also in Aquarius since February 1st, just a few hours before February 1st, Venus entered Aquarius. So it's now extremely strong Aquarian energy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planets here we have in Aquarius. If we add Pallas to be a planet, which is actually an asteroid, so it's actually 5 planets, but still this is 5 of the 7 major traditional ancient planets: Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, Sun, and Mercury. Only 2 others are in the group of 7, so to say, of the classic astrology, would be the Moon and Mars. So 5 out of the 7 traditional planets in Aquarius assembled. And last time this strong Aquarian energy was here was in 1962 in February, naturally again. So you can think of 1962 yes, so I'm just thinking Pam Gregory, right? She mentions 1962 was the start of the hippie area. I haven't done research on that, but she seemingly did. So she says something similar is happening right now, kind of the rebirth of a new way of living together, a new way of going along. Naturally, the internet plays a big role this time. Aquarian is that energy of the internet in its origin, electric, Uranian. So this is very interesting how this all plays together. Uranus in Taurus being the ruler, the dispositor of that energy, again shows that it's time to get real, to get body, to get physical appearance. That whole great idea, which probably in the 60s was yet too kind of lofty and off the ground. They didn't really have the physical connection with Earth to make it happen. It was just a trial run, you could call it. So if we now look at this chart together with the American nations chart, again you see something miraculous here. It's just unbelievable synchronicity, and it again proves how accurate this American nations chart is, which was corrected by Dane Rudyard, certainly the greatest astrologer. I don't think anybody would question that of my colleagues. The greatest astrologer of the 20th century. He lived between 1895 and 1973 or something, I'm guessing. So he has corrected the American nations chart to that time, 17:14 p.m. on the 4th of July 1776, being the moment when the signatures were laid down on that constitution, which was giving the framework for that great idea, that great project, the birth moment really of the nation. So now if we look at this Uranus-Jupiter conjunct square, I'm still having it wrong here, sorry for that, that's a little mistake here. So it's a square really, and the American nation's natal chart. What we see here is just again unbelievable, that Sun-Mercury conjunction. This is an upper conjunction of Mercury. Mercury is just about to take over the Sun from Earth's perspective, in that sense, on its 4-month mutual cycle. You have to picture Mercury is behind the Sun at this point. Just from the Earth perspective, they look to be in the same line, but Mercury will surpass the Sun, and then in 2 months' time come in between Earth and Sun, right? I'm saying it correctly, and then that's the period of Mercury retrograde. So this is kind of the peak of that 4-month cycle. Mercury Sun upper conjunction is very clear in its focus, able to see the patterns, able to apply all the intelligence gathered through the last 2 months of building up to this point in late Libra. Still in a conjunction with Jupiter. Jupiter, which is the expanding energy and also the optimism. It's a very, very powerful day here, because you see midpoints, they move half as fast, so that happens only once every 8 months, and to be exactly on the rising sign. Now, aside from that, we have a 0-degree Leo midheaven. How about that? Beautiful. 0-degree Aquarius 4th house cusp, so giving roots to that new energy, that new idea of society. So some big stuff is happening in the next years for sure, because this is a multi-year cycle again we are talking about, which has just been initiated, that last leg of a 14-year cycle roughly. Okay, I guess I'll leave it at that. I keep them shorter, and my next one is about tomorrow. That will be February the 3rd, with the moon entering Scorpio. How about that? A big new beginning, 1 day in numerology. Okay, thank you for joining and listening, and yes, just keep watching for my next one. Love you all. Bye bye.